All right,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
It's clear, right? There's no audio issues and all. Right? Okay. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll start. I think last week we missed the class. We'll let you know about the schedule session very soon. Uh, we'll continue with what we were discussing before that, right? So I think a little bit of uh, recap on that would be we discussed on certain aspects of formality. Remember? So I talked to you about less formal, more formal. We looked at some aspects that can make your professional write up informal also, right? Remember about slangs and jargon and group jargon, right? Uh, Language that is discriminatory on the basis of various social categories. In case this is the first session for you, please check the recorded session. So quite a few discussions have happened on mostly what professional writing is constituted of, what we mean by that, and how is it different from other kinds of writing which are closely related to it and which are not related to it, right? Like technical or scientific writing or research writing, they're closely related to professional writing, but professional is a little different from the others. In fact, all of them are a little bit different from each other, right? And that happens on the basis of the purpose you're writing and on the basis of the audience that you are trying to engage with your written communication, whatever that is, right? Whether essays or reports or emails or memos or circulars, okay, whatever the text and format and template of your writing is, it's the audience and the purpose that brings about the uh, little bit of changes that I've talked to you about between professional writing and the related writing or creative writing. Creative writing is very different, right? It's totally different from this, and it's a very different format of word choice, writing, structure. Everything varies there. And then we also talked largely about the formal and the informal aspects of uh, writing, particularly in connection with the professional role, right? So I think this much we did discuss. Uh, Today I'm going to take up the email writing part, right? We're going to begin discussing on that so that we can make use of this session to practice some of these things. So that introduction part is done with. A lot of that you will see in the email writing part as well. Let me share the screen with you so that we can discuss these things in a better way. Just confirm with me when you can see the screen clearly. Um, Okay, do you see the PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we're going to start talking about email writing. And remember, emails, you might think, we can write emails for any reason, right? You can write an email to your friend also. That's not a big deal. So while emails have started off, if you look at the history of emails, uh, they were mostly like our WhatsApp messengers, okay, or your other forms of messenger, where you passed on information in any format you wanted. You need not had to specifically send only formal messages or anything across using the emails. It was used for everything else, like we use WhatsApp these days. But over a period of time, emails, because of its versatility in terms of being an electronic medium and also its other features that help you write professionally, has been largely adopted in the professional space as one formal medium of communication. Right. So you look at any organizations across the world, although they all maintain other kind of uh, you know, messengers or chats or anything to work through. All the formal communication is mostly done through emails as much as possible, particularly when the communication has to be between, say, an organization and another. Right? In other words, when you have to do external communication with someone or with somebody who's external to your organization, the preferred format is always an email. Okay. Emails in that sense have replaced your older letters, right? So initially when we had to send in confidential information, we used to depend more on letters. Even today they are important. I'm not saying they are, we are done with letters. Uh, when the matter that needs a discussion is highly confidential, then Uh, Even today, certain organizations would prefer you sending, something through their letterheads rather than going by emails. But by and large, emails have. I think it's safe to assume that they have replaced, your older method of sending in letters and official couriers for formal communications, right? The reason being, of course, what you see on the screen, it's the quickest form. It's simple to use, it's quickest, and all the aspects of formality that you can code in a letter can be easily coded in an email as well, right? It's very structurally designed in that format to do that, right? It has, in the sense, it has a from field, it has a to field, it has a subject field, right? These are all aspects of a formal letter, right? If you remember from your schools or other places where you have learned about it. So because of the structural similarity also, this was considered as a very convenient medium to pass on formal information or messages. So that then became an additional reason why emails have become, a channel for formal communication. But even when you see these similarities between your official formal letter and an email, there are also differences. And a major difference between a letter and an email would be in terms of the length, right? So if you look at formal emails, you'll always see that they're not as long as your formal letters. Even formal letters, if you remember, I think the maximum number of words that you were allowed to write in a formal letter was somewhere closer to 150, right? 100 to 150, or maximum 180, right? Informal, on the other hand, did not have that restriction. It could be a long letter, whereas formal letters were always preferred to be short, not precise, concisely written and to the point. Uh, Same is the case with emails. So emails are not even allowed to have that many words. A standard formal email to the most can carry 80 words. The range is between 60 to 80 words, sometimes 10 words, 15 words here and there, but nothing more than say 80 or 85 words, right? Anything more than that would be considered a long, write-up and may not be considered suitable to be sent across to an email. Okay, so this was one difference that we had between your traditional formal letters and your emails. That emails were always preferred to be kept short and to the point. Okay, no overwriting in that sense, or no redundant writing. So if that is the case, then one of the important parts in emails is the language. We discussed this part, remember, in the first class, in the introduction class, that in professional writing, the language has to be direct, it has to be specific, and it has to be straightforward. No circumventory writing like you would see in, say, a fictional writing or creative writing is allowed in professional emails because this is considered a more formal medium. This is usually adopted for work purposes. So people don't have the kind of time and space to sit and read all the irrelevant, unnecessary, redundant details that you're going to give them, right? Also, it is, another name of professional writing, like I told you that day, is purposeful writing. So you write something like this only because you want to fulfill a purpose. You don't write it unnecessarily. It's not like a WhatsApp text message that you send to someone. This is an important thing. And at the end of the communication of this particular email, you expect the other party to take some action about what you're writing, right? So it's action oriented. Hence, you keep things concise and unambiguous or unconfusing, okay, to the other person. Okay. Uh, So the last part can just the last thing that you see on that slide can be used to address any issue, including personal matters, with appropriate language, tone, and style. Is basically, that although now they are used as formal medium, people still continue using them as informal, or rather, there is no restriction on using it as an informal medium. But when you're using it as a formal medium, some of the things that we've just discussed should be kept in mind. Okay. Now, quickly on email writing etiquettes, you have a couple of them. So some of them might sound very, silly and very, uh, you know, something that is understood. But even though that is the case, these are also the uh, aspects which people usually miss out when they are writing the email. And not because they don't know, but because they're in a rush or whatever. But whatever the cases, it is always important that you make sure all of this is also done before you click on the send button. So proper email format, general guidelines will include proper email format, checking the recipient's name, right? Otherwise bounces back. Proofreading the email. Now this is not so general, although it looks like general. Proofreading the email is not very, a general thing. It's in fact a very important thing. It's very significant that you what proofreading is and how it is done, right? So wait for that. For the time being, just know that proofreading is important. Then writing guidelines, using emojis, right? Usage of emojis or emoticons as they are known should be strictly avoided or if necessary only sparingly used, right? Now emojis, not just the ones that we have now available in messengers or the ones that are available as emoticons, but even exclamatory marks, right? Like your exclamation mark and unnecessary punctuation marks. All of this must also be avoided in your both in the body of the email and the subject line of the email, right? That's one aspect of writing. Shorthand. Second one is shorthand. Use shorthands or abbreviations only if they are universal in nature. Do not, invent your own shorthands, right? And then use that in an email because if it is not universal, then it's more likely that the person who's reading your email will not understand what you mean by that shorthand. If I write ADV dot, right? Not everybody will understand. Say, suppose I meant it as adverb, ADV dot. It's not necessary that the other person understands ADV dot means adverb because it's not universal. So if you're using shorthand, only use the ones which are more universal and try and avoid using them as much as possible. Right? Short and specific subject line. We'll discuss how to write a short and specific subject line when we discuss on the subject line particularly. Right? We'll have a separate discussion on what subject line is and how it is written. How can we write it short and in a short and specific way? All that we'll discuss there. So short and specific subject line is important. The email needs to be concise. Again, we'll talk about how you write concisely, right? What are the allowed word choices? How can you work on your language and word choice to make it concise? Then appropriate salutations. Again, that we'll discuss what would be considered an appropriate salutation to begin your email, to end your email, right? All of that we'll discuss. Then writing tone, right? Writing tone will also be, what would be the writing tone? It has to be mostly uh, impersonal or objective, right? You do not use a lot of personal pronouns like I, we, so and so, right? Or you. You definitely is something that needs to be used very sparingly. Then other guidelines, email fields have to be checked carefully and they have to be used appropriately. Email fields, you understand, right? Those to and from and subject and CC, BCC, all of that. They have their own purposes. They're not simply added as additional features. They sit there for some reason. So know when and where you can appropriately use the CC and BCC. In every email, CC and BCC will not be the right thing to do. Okay. How to mail multiple people. This also we'll discuss when we are looking at salutations. Avoid responding to emails if you are angry or non-composed. Now, this is more like a advisory thing that you don't respond. Whether it's an email or anything, even in person, responding when you're angry is not the right thing to do because you won't be able to give objective responses or objective suggestions, right? You're overcome by your emotions, so it's unnecessary that you do that thing. Now, unlike in a conversation and email, be very careful because this is a written record, right? So someone can use it against you if you're going to, compose an angry email. Even when you are aggrieved, even when you are the person who's, when you are the one who's done the right thing and you have been wrong, maintaining composure and written records is very, very important because they're recordable and can be used against you. Okay, sometimes. Then responding to email promptly. This is also considered a very important writing etiquette. So there are different levels to this based on your designations and your position in the organizational hierarchy. If it is someone who is at your level, right, at your equal level, then somewhere between 24 hours, 12 hours to 24 hours is okay. Uh, See, in an organization, even if that person is at your same level, right, or your same um levels of hierarchy, they're still your colleagues, right? There's still a formal relation between you. So, to respect that quorum, you will have to ensure that the emails are responded at least within a period of 12 to 24 hours, not more than that. So, that would be considered good etiquette. If it is someone who's higher up in your hierarchy, then maybe couple of hours, right? Somewhere between 2 to 3 or 4 hours would be considered an apt time to respond to their emails. Anything longer than that would be considered a little, would be considered bad ethics, right? Now, if the mail is being sent to someone who's outside your organization, someone who's external to your organization, 2 or 3 days would be okay to respond to the email if you have followed up their earlier email with an interim email, right? So sometimes what happens, they need some information and maybe you're not ready with it. So what you do is, while you can take 2 to 3 days to give them the proper and the perfect response, make sure you send them an interim email meanwhile, telling them the same, that you might take a little time and you know to wait back for your reply, and that you will reply in the stipulated time period. So that would be considered the better etiquette when you consider email writing as a professional, as something that is done in the professional domain or in the occupational domain. Okay, that's how you differentiate between an email otherwise and a professional email and email writing etiquettes. Okay, any questions as of now before we step into the contents and the other parts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Right. Now, if that is understood, we're going to dive straight into the contents of a professional email. So essentially what I'm showing you is the structure of an email, like a template of an email as you would see in your uh, whatever engine you're using to do that, right? So all the emails besides your fields like, from to CC, BCC and all, you're going to have these 8 parts which are essential for you as a writer to include. Other things are auto-generated or you may just add them. But what you require to compose as a writer in an email will begin from the subject line of the email, right? So beginning with the subject line, followed by the greetings, then the purpose, details, closing remarks, complimentary close, signature, attachment or enclosures if any. From 1 to 8 is actually what you compose as a writer in an email. Rest of the things are if they don't include any writing aspects. But from subject line onwards, you're going to have up to say 7 signature or at least till 6 complimentary close is what is going to involve you as a writer in that, right? You see a note here for emails of inquiry. Thank the center before giving your response. Yeah, so if it's an inquiry email, before you compose your email or you give your response, make sure that you thank the reader. So, sorry, sender. By default, the first line of an inquiry email would be a thank you line, right? Just an additional piece of information. We'll come to all of that when we are drafting the email, right, as a part of the session. Additional features of a professional email will include professional tone and language, clear call to action, politeness, and respect. Right? All three we'll discuss how we can do with the help of language. Right? Uh, do you see the beginning emails part on your screen now? Salutations.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So we'll start talking about each of that 8 parts that we discussed, right, as contents of email. So we're going to begin with it, right? We'll discuss the subject line a little later, but I want to start off with the salutation first, right? So the salutations, they constitute the beginning of any email. So we are basically going to look at 2 things of salutation. One is the format, that is how do you write it, and second part, the formality aspect, right? How we move from more formal to less formal uh, levels of formality. You see that line right on the screen. So from left to right, as you move from left to right, the formality decreases. So saying something like Dear Mr. Selvam or Dear Mrs. Selvam, Dear Miss Selvi is the most formal way of addressing someone in an email, right? That is, first you use the word dear, followed by the title, right? So if there are other titles that are absent, let's say you're writing to a professor, then you'll write professor, PROF dot. Or if there's somebody who's, someone who holds a doctorate, right? And you're writing to an academician, then you write dear Dr. Selvam, right? In the absence of such titles, you will have to use Mr., Mrs., or Miss, whichever is appropriate, to add a title to the name of the person, right? So first comes dear, followed by the title, then comes the name of the person. Okay, so when you write the name of the person, either you can address the person with their last name, right? Or you can address them with their full name. So if my name is Lida Paul, then when you're writing an email to me, you can either say Dear Miss Paul, or you can say Dear Miss Lida Paul, right? But not Dear Miss Lida, right? That would be a little, it is okay, it is formal, but that would be considered semi-formal, not the most formal way, right? Now, when do I use the most formal salutation? When the person whom I'm writing to is unknown to me, or we have had no prior acquaintances. Like if you're writing to me and before this email we have had no acquaintance with each other, you don't know me, this is the first time you're writing to me for something, then the best method is to use the most formal salutation, which is dear Miss Paul or dear Miss Lidapo, right? But if you know me a little bit, right, we have exchanged a couple of emails and we have worked together on something, there's some level of acquaintance between us, then you can use the second one, which is Dear Lida or Dear Miss Lida. That should be okay. You can address me with my first name because now we know each other a little bit, right? Here they have said Dear Selvam and Selvi. If you add the title also, it's okay. If you miss the title also, that's fine, right? But with some levels of acquaintance, you can use dear and the first name of the person or the last name of the person, whichever one you prefer. If you're using the last name of the person, then it's better that you add the title, right? So you can either write Dear Lida or you can write Dear Miss Paul, right? If you're using the second name, the last name of the person, then make sure you add a title, right? Understood? Any question there? No? Okay. Now, the third one that you see here, right? Hello, Selvam. Hello, Selvi. Now, is this less formal or more formal? If I ask you to rate it within the less formal domain or the more formal domain, where will you put it?
Less formal.
Less fun.
Less formal. Less formal, and it is almost inching closer to a more informal zone, right? Still, there is some levels of formality, but it is more informal than formal. So it's definitely a less formal, lesser formal way of addressing someone. So when you're using this salutation, the person who's reading your email is just assuming that you're someone who's well known to them, right? Say somebody like a colleague, someone who's a partner, right? Business partner or business acquaintance or a work colleague, someone who know from your workplace, someone who you see every day, someone who you communicate with every day, besides your office hours, right? So you know the person at the office at some level, you also know the person otherwise. So this is more like a formal but informal situation, right? So hello is usually a word that you use for somebody who you know very well, right? You know them really well. So you don't prefer to use titles or use any formal formality marker terms like dear or anything. You simply say hello and the person's name. That's all, right? The last one is the least formal of any. Now, this is definitely, I won't say there's a lot of difference between hello and hi. Maybe we can put them in the same category also. But if you ask between hello and hi, then hi definitely is less formal, right? But I would say hello and hi would be, you know, there's merely any difference between both of them. Whether you say hello or whether you say hi, you're meaning to talk to a person who's very familiar to you, okay? Someone who you know very well. So we'll put them in the same category. But in case there's a question or somebody asks you, just as a matter of fact, whether hello or hi is more informal, then certainly hi is informal. Okay, less formal than hi. Okay, but for the purposes of writing an email, professional email, we'll keep hello and hi in the same category as the least formal version of addressing someone. Okay, the least formal form of the salutation. Understood? Okay. So all of
Yes.
these three layers that we have used, this is basically used to address one person, right? You see the title, writing an email to one person on top of the formality scale. See the title, writing an email to one person. So when you're addressing just one person through your email, these are the various levels of formality that you can approach the salutation with, or code the salutation to code your salutation properly, right? Now, next case is when you are writing an email to several people, right? So one person we just saw, when you're writing to several people instead, again the scale of formality matters, right? So from more formal to less formal, there are different ways in how you're going to address several people in an email, depending on who they are, what their hierarchical level is, so on and so forth. So the most formal method of addressing someone, right, or a group of people through an email would be to use the salutation dear all, right? Dear all. So say you're addressing a group of community members, right? Say it's a Google group and you want to send it out to everyone, and all of them are at the same position. They're all, uh, this is a group that you have to send an information to as a part of a community event at your office, and you are given just an address of the Google group. And essentially, this is the first time you're writing to all of them. The first time you're, acquainting yourself with all of them. You have not known them before. You've not seen them before. Then you use the salutation dear all, right? But if there is some levels of acquaintance with them, then you can use the second one, which is hello everyone, right? Most formal way would be dear all while addressing a group. Second, a little less formal, yet formal would be hello everyone. And the last one would be the least formal, which is hi everyone. Okay, very simple. Now, in this case, there's one more thing that I would like to add here. What happens sometimes, I gave you an example of the email that's written to a group, right? A Google group. Now, what happens sometimes you're also supposed to compose an email to a group of people, right? A group of people who are part of a team but are different levels of hierarchy, right? So one might be like a head of the team, one might be a deputy, and the others might be, say, some kind of colleagues or some kind of subordinates, right? In such case, what happens? You cannot use the dear all term, right? Because at certain places, the organization prefer that the hierarchy is still maintained. So whoever is the most important person, that person will have to be addressed by their name if their names are known. Okay, so in the order of hierarchy, then you can write something like, say for example, you have somebody who's the director, or say who's the head of a project, say XYZ, and then there is an assistant junior officer or someone who's taking care of the project. We'll call that person ADC. Okay, and then a couple of people who are also helping them as assistants in that project. So if that is the case, then you will have to mention both XYZ and ABC's name differently in the email. You cannot write dear all. So how would you draft a salutation in that case? You'll write dear Mr. or whatever their title they own, okay, Miss or Mrs. whatever the gender is. Dear Mr., Mrs. or Miss XYZ, comma Mr., Mrs., Miss ABC, and others. Okay. So three things, because now you have respected the hierarchy, you have given the names of the people in the hierarchical level separately. And for others who are the subordinates or at the, say, a lower level in the hierarchy than the other two, have all been addressed together as others, right? So in some rare cases, you might have to use this kind of salutation also, because some people would prefer it that way. They would not want to group them together with others, given the levels of differences of hierarchies between them. Okay. So dear, title, the first person whoever is important, comma, title, second person who's important, and others for all the other people. Okay, understood? All right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now, the last situation that we have is when you're writing an email to someone whose name is not known. You don't know this person, right? You in all the other cases you did know there was some term to address them with. But here, if you find yourself in a situation where you don't know the name of the addressee, that you don't know who you are addressing, no information is available, you probably only know their designation. So definitely, I have seen people writing dear manager and dear HR and all that. These days, I think they're passed off as okay. But I think a better method to, use or a better way to handle such a situation would be to just address them as sir or madam, right? So if you know it's a sir, then you say sir, and the other way, if it's a madam, then you say madam. If you do not know, right, you have no information, you just know that this person is the head of the marketing team or something, but we really do not know, then in that case, you can simply say dear sir or madam, right? Because dear manager, dear sir, sorry, dear head and all, although the kind of writing is getting a little common these days, it certainly is not considered a very standard way of writing. What would be considered standard would be this, writing dear sir or madam, in case you do not know the gender of the person. Or if you simply do not know the name, then you use dear sir or dear madam. Okay? In case you at least know the gender, but not the name. But if the gender is also not known, then dear sir or madam. Okay? Another thing is in professional writing, you might have, if you've seen emails like this, especially while writing this dear sir or madam, when you have to write that, I've seen people writing dear sir slash madam, right? So don't do that. Write this word or. Write dear sir or or and then madam, right? More professional. Because the idea is avoid as many symbols as possible, because when you put that slash sign, it does not have just one meaning. It can represent other meanings also, right? It's not a fixed semiotic device in the sense it does not have a fixed meaning. Symbols can always have fluctuating meanings in different contexts. Hence, the advice that you should not use too many or try and avoid as much as possible using symbols in your professional writing spaces. Okay? So safer choice would be to write the word or instead of putting the slash, right? That's that. So that is the most formal and formal aspect of writing an email to someone whose name is not known. And the least formal would definitely be a hello or hi, right? You just completely omit the person's name or designation or anything. You simply say hello or hi, and then write your message and finish it off. This is only used in situations where you think that this email is not as formal as you imagine it to be. This is a more almost closer to an informal sort of an email, wherein you completely avoid the name of the sender and simply stick with hello or hi. Okay. So these are the three different situations that would be useful to you, when you are composing an email, particularly with respect to salutations and the format and formality aspects of the salutation. Okay. Any question?
No.
All good? All good. Then let's look at this one. This is an additional instruction. If you know someone very well, use hello and hi without the person's name. Alternatively, one can also use the person's name without hello or hi. I think we already saw that, right? So if you know somebody really well, by which it means if you maintain a very informal relation with each other, then you can use simply hello or hi without the person's name. Okay, that's all. Okay, so if that's the case, not this exercise, but let's look at this one. Okay, if you've understood the aspects of formality, let's jump into this particular exercise and see how much we have understood. So read this question. Look at the following ways of beginning an email. Right. So this is basically salutations given to you. Number them from 1 to 4 according to how formal you think the beginnings are. 1, whatever you rate as 1 will be the most formal. Whatever you rate as 4 would be the least formal. So you have Dear Satya, Dear Mrs. Rafia, Hi Lal, and Sheila. Which one among this would be most formal, which would be least formal, and what would be the intermediaries? Can you look at it and tell me?
2, 1, 3, 4.
Two,
The
one,
most
three, and
form,
4.
the most formal will be Dear Mrs. Rafia.
Correct. Dear
Then,
Mrs. Rafia.
Dear
Because, yeah,
Satya.
it has. Okay, dear Satya.
Then Hi Lal, and then
Mhm.
Sheila.
Sheila. Right? So, dear Mrs. Rafia, because it has the formality marker dear, then the title, and then the name of the person, right? The next one, the formality marker is still present, but title is absent. Name is there, still it is formal, but less formal than dear Mrs. Rafia. So that one gets 1. Dear Satya gets the second place. And in any case, whether hi or hello is considered less formal, if it appears along with a name, then it is more formal than simply addressing someone by their name. So, for that reason, Hailal would take the third place and Sheila would take the fourth place. Okay, so between them, Hailal is more formal, is what I mean. But you may consider both to be at the same level also. Okay, right. Uh, this one requires you a little bit of write up. Uh, Write an appropriate salutation. This we'll do in the next class because I'll have to share the uh, document with you so that you can write. Instead, we'll go to this one, third, no, the fourth one. Okay, rewrite the following sentences in formal style. So you have 6 sentences. We'll go through each of them and see how we can rewrite or rephrase the sentences so that it becomes a little more formal in nature, right? The first one is, we got the goods yesterday. We got the goods yesterday. How can you change the sentence so that it becomes more formal?
We received the supplies yesterday.
We received the supplies yesterday, or simply you can change the word goods to products. Okay, that's also possible. Supplies is fine, but in case if anyone else was wondering, then we can also use the word products. So we received the products yesterday, right? So which also means that when you are required to write formally, or when someone, if you get a comment on your writing that this is a little less formal, please change the formality levels of this. Your first focus should be on the verbs, right? Because most of the times it's the verbs that make the writing a little informal or less formal, right? Not the nouns as much. Like I can, do with the word goods also. It won't be considered really bad. But the word God is what is making this a little less formal than the sentence that we discussed, right? So when you're asked to make corrections for formality levels, the first thing that you need to address would be the verb that is used. Whether the sentence uses a formal verb or is it using an informal verb, right? Uh, then everything else is thereafter. Okay, whether you choose to change goods to products or supplies, or you're going to make some changes in the phrases that are used in the sentence, all of it comes later on. But the first target is always to have a look at your verb, whether they are formal enough or not, right? So here we changed got to informal writing. Most of the times the verb got is replaced with the word received or some other equivalent of that, but mostly it is received, right? So we received the goods or we received the products or the supplies yesterday. Okay. Now, some people would also change the word yesterday. They would say the previous day, right? Now, while that is a possibility, that is not an absolute necessary thing to do, right? You can still retain the word yesterday there, but in case you want to change, you can also change to the previous day, okay? But not necessarily. Second one, we want to ask about your new product.
We would like to inquiry about your new product.
We would like to inquire about your new product. Now, what did you do to this sentence? You certainly changed the verb, I see, but what have you done to the verb to make it more formal?
To make it more formal, I
Ah,
simply changed the uh, I changed it from ask about your new product to inquire.
ah,
Like inquiry is more
yes,
formal than
right,
asking about a new
correct.
product or something.
Hmm, correct. Correct. You changed ask to inquire, which is a more formal verb as opposed to say ask. What else did you do to the sentence? You said you would like to, right? We would like to inquire about your new product, is what you said. So ask is one part that is changed. Want is also changed, right? You change it to would like to. Then that's so. So that is the change that's being made. And what did you add to it? When you changed it to would like to, what did you do to it? You added a modal verb. The word or the verb would has been now added to the sentence, which is what? You look at the grammatical category of that word, it's a modal verb. And modal verbs are very, very important in formal writing. Most of the professionally written texts, professionally composed texts would have, I would say, an overpresence of, right, modal verbs. Why do you add modal verbs? Because one of the function of the modal verbs, right, is to add politeness element to writing and speaking. It has other functions to show the modalities like, ability or capability, sorry, possibility or, certainty. These are all definitely one aspect or one kind of functions of the modal verbs. But in addition to that, the modal verbs are also used to add politeness elements or formality aspects to your writing and speaking, which is why you added both, right? They come automatically to you, but the reason why we add them is because of this, that it makes it more polite and formal. So we would like to inquire about your new product, not we want to ask about it. Okay. Third one, we are sorry that the order was late. We're sorry that the order was late.
We
We
can say
regret
we are
Mhm. Yeah, one of you can speak. Or if you have a different answer, then can take turns and speak.
okay. We can say we are sorry that the
Hmm.
order has been delayed instead of
Hmm.
was late
Hmm.
or
Okay. Okay. Right. So any other answer? Anyone?
we regret that the order was late, or we regret that the delivery was late.
Okay. So you both of you are right. Both of you have added distinct elements to it. Now, you can combine both of this, right? So you can say, we regret that the order was delayed, or we regret that the delivery was delayed. Okay. So you basically change sorry, that part to regret. Then the order, if you want, you can change to the delivery. Even if you retain the word order, that's also fine. And late to delay, right? So both the parts, what both your answers are right if you combine them, right? So we regret that the order was delayed. We regret that the delivery was delayed, right? That would be how you can change the formality levels of the sentence. Correct. Now, fourth one, let me know if the date is okay. Let me know if the date is okay. let me know if the date is okay. So you can retain it as a
We
sentence,
can use
or if
please.
you
We
you
can
can
use
use please.
please.
Yes. Hmm,
Please let me know
hmm,
if the date is suitable,
hmm,
or we can say,
hmm,
please let me know if the date is okay.
hmm. You can't use okay. Uh, you can use something else instead. So two ways of doing this. Okay, either you simply you can keep it as a sentence, as in a statement, or you can convert this into a question also. That's also possible. So you can say, please let me know if the date is
Suitable.
suitable, or you can say, please let me know if the date is fine by you. Okay, is fine by you. That is one way of writing that. Or alternatively, you can also change this into a question. You can say, would you let me know if the date is fine by you? Or would you please confirm the date with me? Right? So all these are different ways to rewrite this sentence. Now, the sentence is not an ordinary sentence. It's unlike your other sentence. This let me know kind of sentences, these are in, they are imperative sentences. Let me know, right? So this definitely cannot be the tone or the mood of the sentence that you write in the formal email. So you either change it into a normal sentence like, please let me know if the date is fine by you, or you change it to a question format. Would you please let me know if the date is fine by you, or would you please confirm the date with me? Right? Both can be used alternatively to write in a formal style. Okay. Now, fifth one, if you need any more help, this is a phrase, it's not a sentence, but how would you change this into a, say, formal way?
If you need any further assistance, please let me know.
Hmm. If you need any further assistance, anybody
Further
who wants to
assistance.
make anything? That is okay. That you don't have to fill in. Any other addition that you want to make? I mean, any other modification to what has just been said? If you need any further assistance, anybody? So I would say if you require, right? Need is again little informal, so you can change that to the formal verb which is required. If you require any further assistance, so on and so forth, right? So that would be the more formal style in which this can be rewritten. Now, the last one here, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see you.
I'm eagerly waiting for you.
I would eagerly waiting to meet with you, or there is a very standard sentence that's used, in fact, in most of the formal emails before we close them. Have you seen the sentence? I look forward to meet with you soon, right?
Yes, ma'am.
These kind of sentences are quite common in formal. So I look forward to meet with you soon. I look forward to hear from you soon. I look forward to see you on Monday, right? So these kind of sentences basically are the formal way of saying I can't wait to see you. Not exactly I can't wait to see you, but a more toned down version of that, right? That you expect somebody expect to meet or hear from someone at some particular time or date, right? So I look forward to meet with you, or I look forward to to meet with you soon is one way you can replace it. Or I would eagerly wait to see you. I would eagerly wait to not see you. Don't use see you. So use the word meet. I would eagerly wait to meet with you. Right? That is also okay. Okay, but a little less uh, formal than I look forward to meet with you soon. Okay, so this is how you're going to study. This is how you're going to, see the formal conversion of the vocabulary in the sentence, right? Uh, the order you need to follow while you do this conversion would be first look at the verbs, change them to the formal ones, right? Then the nouns and the other adverbial aspects like yesterday or other things. Okay. So keep that in mind. Next class, I'll show you a list of words, which are very commonly used in the formal writing, both the informal and the uh, what is it, the formal aspects of it. Okay, so one column will have the formal word and then the informal one. So I'll show you a couple of words which are used that way. Okay, just to give you an understanding of how it works. Of course, not give you a whole bunch of things, but I think we will be able to cover most of such words which are commonly used in the formal words. Okay. All right.
Ma'am,
Any
could you
doubts?
please,
Ah,
ma'am, could you please share the PDF of this PPT?
this one? Yeah, this one I'll share with you. This is a one full PPT, but I think I'll send it off to the group and then they can, I think, convert this into a PDF and give it to you. Okay, so you can use the relevant
Okay,
sections of this while you come to the class. It will
okay,
have the
ma'am.
exercises also, so I will not share it separately then or see what I can do. But this PPT I'll share. No problem.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, right. So any questions? If you have any questions, please go ahead. Otherwise, we'll close for today. We'll look at the subject line and the body of the email also in the next class in detail. And then we'll take up the writing activity, right? That much I think you need to understand to compose the email. Rest of the things we can carry on. But today I did not do anything. We just restricted it to these exercises so that it's easy for you to answer. At this point, because we haven't discussed subject line and body, I'm not going to ask you to compose one. But next class, for sure, we are going to compose emails and check if we have followed what we have discussed. Right? Okay, nothing? Right. If that's the case, then it's just close for today, right? That be okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. And see you again next week.